Let's go.
The American Gangster, Chael P. Sonnen. D1 All-American college wrestler, the godfather of new wave UFC entertainment, and a goddamned badass. Chael's days inside the cage are undoubtedly over, but his influence on the sport is still seen in the ways fighters promote their fights, and arguably in the way wrestle-heavy fighters carry out their game plans. In the early years of Chael's stardom, he was extremely polarizing because of his often insensitive promos and call-outs. But now that he's retired and open about his career, he's become a beloved staple in the MMA community with a very successful YouTube channel. Let me give you my own personal thoughts and review Chael's star power as a whole, starting with his...
A lot of times I'm thinking that I don't wanna meet all them, they're rubbing me the wrong way like my
Chael found most of his success in the octagon at 185 pounds, where he was a title contender for about 3 years. And in those 3 years, he was pretty damn active. Chael is a wrestler through and through, with all his wins in the UFC coming via dominant unanimous decisions or via submissions. He was great at taking his opponents down and keeping them down with vicious ground and pound. He was ruthless. He also had some of the more creative ground striking I've ever seen. Like most high-level wrestlers in the UFC, Chael Sonnen broke his opponent's spirits with his frustrating fight style. He even broke the spirit of the GOAT, Anderson Silva. He dominated Anderson Silva for 5 rounds in their first fight, only to get submitted via triangle choke late in the 5th. So actually, maybe he didn't break Anderson Silva. Maybe he didn't break his spirit. Shit. What could have been one of the biggest upsets in UFC history became one of the craziest come-from-behind wins for Anderson Silva. Now, Chael's stand-up game is pretty ass. I really don't think there's a lot to say about his striking standing up. He was never the craftiest guy. He never had a lot of power behind his shots. He was maybe a step above Ben Askren in the striking department. His striking usually served to set up his takedowns, which is okay, I guess, but... Look at this, look at this. I'm gonna give Uncle Chael a 6.7 out of 10 for fighting ability.
People are annoying, man, and I'm not trying to play. They're all going left, so I'm walking the
As I mentioned earlier, Chael Sonnen is a retired fighter whose likability has increased dramatically since the last time he stepped out of the octagon. I'll be rating Chael's likability based on how he used to be seen when he was in his prime. When Chael was climbing the ranks of the middleweight division in 2009 and 2010, everyone hated him, straight up. Okay? Everyone hated his guts. Even I hated him. At the time, I didn't have a grasp on what Chael was trying to do in his approach to promote his fights, and I guarantee you a lot of people didn't have a grasp on what he was trying to do, because this was something we've never seen before in MMA. A person promoting themselves through a full-blown character, 100% character, 24/7. Before Chael Sonnen, we didn't see this. We usually only saw, real beef between fighters occasionally. He was being the bad guy, even though he's a really nice guy in real life. Yeah. He's a real nice guy, but, he did all of this just to build up hype. He's nice, but he would say stuff like...
When Anderson Silva walks into a room, you could hear a rat piss on cotton.
Why are you asking questions in English? Anderson sits here like he doesn't understand you. Ed Soros interprets, and we got to hear it a second time.
He's got a black belt under the Nogueira brothers. I think a black belt under the Nogueira brothers is saying I got a free toy in my Happy Meal.
Don't answer yet, Anderson. You got to pretend you don't understand. Ed?
His mouth has gotten him in every fight, big fight that he's had.
Tito always says I'm using my mouth to get my opportunities. The only person I know that made money using their mouth is his ex-wife.
Aaron, I don't walk around looking into cameras and telling people that I'm the best fighter in the world to hear myself talk. I say it for the same reason they put warnings on packages of cigarettes, and fighting Chael Sonnen may be hazardous to one's health.
Guy walks around with a fake belt. That's insane. I would never do that.
Tito has a Rolls Royce. Now, in fairness, that's a beautiful car. I wouldn't own one because I'm not that big of a prick, but it just got repossessed. Unfortunately, he couldn't get this match before. I heard that he tried to sell some suits to make do on the car, but nobody had a size 52 stupid.
It looks like he found a bathroom as a backdrop in the men's shelter he's living at in Rio and got somebody to point a cell phone at his face. I find it a little bit weird. You act like you just asked him a question. You just talked to plexiglass with a little bit of technology in it, and then he gave you an answer. You understand we're beaming him in via satellite, Ariel. We could have used that satellite technology to point it somewhere in the world, depict and predict weather patterns, and protect people's lives. Instead, we've got Vanderlei Silva coming to us from a men's shelter bathroom in Brazil. Yeah, man, I find it a little bit weird.
Yo, what a goddamn disrespectful douchebag. I hate this guy. He's canceled. He's done. Adios. Fuck you. I hate you. It's way too easy to see why Chael was hated and brutally bashed on and booed everywhere he fought, especially in Brazil. He paved the way for fighters like Colby Covington. While real hatred from the majority of the community can hurt, it also brings eyeballs to the events and money to the damn pockets. I'm giving Chael a 4.2 out of 10 for likability.
Joe, I'm just happy you and everybody can be here to witness this. You're going to tell your kids that he was real. He existed. The myth of Chael Sonnen stood before us. He brought down the hometown hero, and when it was all said and done, it was one more in the record books, one more in the win column, and one more for the bad guy.
Chael Sonnen, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, in the fight game with boiling fan opposition comes stacks of cash, especially when the hated fighter is going up against a beloved fighter. While Chael played the bad guy for most of his UFC career, it wasn't until he crossed paths with Anderson Silva that his star power went through the effing roof. Chael disrespected the soft-spoken GOAT on every single plane imaginable. Chael's shit-talking brought haters of his, as well as lovers of Anderson Silva, into the viewership of what was the biggest UFC fight in history at the time, which was UFC 117, Silva versus Sonnen. At the time, Chael called himself the UFC pay-per-view champion, and I'd say he was. Along with Brock Lesnar, he was one of the top 3 stars in the UFC. He was managing to sell out arenas and generate good pay-per-view numbers, even when he wasn't fighting for a title. Chael lost the first fight with Anderson Silva, but was later scheduled for a rematch, which did even bigger numbers and sold even more pay-per-views. Sadly, Chael was pretty much embarrassed in that fight. He lost terribly. It wasn't even a contest. It was. I'm gonna give Chael Sonnen a 10 out of 10, of course, for saleability. Overall, Chael Sonnen gets a 6.96 out of 10.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Silva the champ?
Yeah, I will correct you. You are wrong.
He's a legitimate UFC legend that deserves all the respect and deserves his credit on how he built the UFC entertainment era. A big, polarizing personality with serious wrestling skills. Many fans argue over whether or not he deserves a spot in the UFC Hall of Fame. I say he definitely does.
I'm gonna put him on his prissy little ass. I'd light up a big old mouth cannon and I'd walk away laughing.
The UFC would not be the UFC you see today if it wasn't for Chael Sonnen, and I'm confident in saying it would not be nearly as dominant in the MMA world as it is today.
You are now. Stop. You are now. Please stop. I can't let you get close. Can you hear my Stop.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna keep doing these fighter reviews because why the hell not? You know, why not? Who watches all these all the way through, by the way? If you're listening to this message right here, comment with your favorite boobah. Comment below who your favorite boobah is or your favorite Teletubby. Thanks for watching. If you're listening to this, let me know who you want me to review next, I guess. Subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. Just do something. I don't know if you want to dislike it. Who gives a fuck? No one can see the dislikes anyway. Screw you if you Actually, no, don't dislike it. Nah, just like the video. Come on, man. Alright, see you guys next time.
Vandalay, you are an immigrant from Brazil. I am a gangster from America. Are you sure you want to play that game with me? Listen, Vandalay, I will do a home invasion on you. I will cut the power to your house, and the next thing you hear will be me climbing up your stairs in a pair of night vision goggles I bought in the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine. I'll pick the lock to the master room door, take a picture of you in bed with the Nogueira brothers working on your jiu-jitsu. I'll take said photograph, post it at www.dorksfrombrazil.com. Password, not required. Username, not required. That, Vandalay, is how you threaten somebody, dummy.